Welcome back to Into the Breach, Unfair Difficulty Guide with the Heat Sinkers. We're on to our third corporate island here. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride, but the run is alive. Mechs are on screen. We've got the unupgraded dispersal mech, a quickfire mech with a push upgrade, and finally the napalm mech with a range upgrade and a two-use frost beam. Middling pilots at best, but at least we have pilots. And now my choice is between Pinnacle and Detritus. Pinnacle has the spiderling producing arachnid scion, which is irritating, as well as a bunch of other nonsense, while Detritus has moths, bouncers, centipedes, and a crab leader cherry on top. Now, I'm considering what will be the most annoying fourth island, and I think that Pinnacle would be the most irritating fourth island. So we're going to do Pinnacle first, because I don't want to deal with scorpion leaders, hornet leaders, blobber leaders, crab leaders. Like, any number of leaders could be a problem. Detritus will have a smaller pool of leader Vec that will spawn. So we're just going to be doing things in order. We're on to Pinnacle Robotics. We've got three choices ahead of us, but Venting Field is going to be mandatory, so I decide to knock it out first. It should be pretty straightforward. It's just a break 5 buildings out of the ice mission. Usually you can just let the enemy attack the grid for you, and then you can just kind of worry about damage control. So this should be, in theory, a pretty easy mission. Although this is a very strange map seed for this mission type. So you can see the hornets, the crab, the blobber. Everyone is going to be breaking things out of the ice for us. It's just a question of what can we do to make our job easier in the future. Now, make a very interesting play here. I've got a line of 3 Vec in a row, so we can freeze all of them. However, this blocks off the western side of the board. Napalm Mech and Quickfire Mech are now going to have a harder time interacting with the rest of the board. But we're going to commit to this and try to get things repositioned in the future. It will just be up to the Dispersal Mech to handle the eastern side of the board. What I'm hoping is the enemy will be just kind of stuck and constrained a little bit. We'll see how it shakes out. But we're already 3 of 5 buildings freed. And then, to my mild consternation, the enemy is largely interested in freeing their fellows. But we don't want to do that. We want to keep things on lock. So, in the name of keeping things on lock, why not just not have to worry about blobbers anymore? 5 frozen Vec in a row. We are getting Silica in the quick-firing mech repositioned. But mission is already accomplished. We just have to handle, whatever emerges for the remainder of the mission. Right now it's just 2 hornets, one of which is damaged. And then, thanks to the range upgrade on the napalm mech, we can provide boosted to the quickfire mech and keep things secure. You don't want to break out any extra buildings from the ice. There's no reward for doing so, and it maintains functionally some extra defense. And we will set up one more kill shot for Silica. He's the only pilot that needs XP at this juncture. And that's a pretty easy mission accomplished for us. But yes, shocking no one, Frost Beam is very good. Our Our next updates include, or options rather, a Defend the Robots mission and a Power Plant mission with shields active. I think I need to repair my grid health. I'm curious to see what the 2 reward and bonus power core mission is, so Frozen Plains seems to be the choice here. 2 crabs, 2 hornets, a blobber. It's a nasty little op 4. And also, the eagle-eyed among you may spot something intriguing. That's right. Normally, the secret pilot beacons are hidden inside mountains, but they can also be in the ocean underneath cracked ice tiles. These are much more irritating to retrieve than the mountain version because if a mech ends their movement inside the water, they are incapable of taking an action. So this is going to be tricky. We basically will need to engineer a free turn for one of our mechs to go fetch that thing. And to make matters worse, the dispersal mech is completely boxed in by enemies, frozen robots, and the grid. So either we will need to free a way forward for the dispersal mech, or he's just going to be stuck. And we have, I believe, 4 threats to the grid. Most of them are focused on the grid tile on E5. So skipping forward ahead a little bit, I had to stare at the board for a while. So we defend the mission objective with the quickfire mech and also break the ice, which will be key if we are indeed keen on retrieving the unusual pod. So we're going to lose some grid health here, but at least we will take down the robot with us. Always a bummer when you take one of these missions with the hope of topping off the grid, and at best now you are going for a net 0 gains, 0 losses victory. However, we have an interesting opportunity here. There are no threats to the grid, which means if there's a time to go grab the beacon in the water, that time is now. Ideally, though, it would be nice to not have that frozen crab freed, but I'm not sure there's much we can do to dislodge that hornet from that weird little corner position that it's in. But we can try to just keep the enemy action advantage as low as possible. So the penultimate turn will be a 2v3 our favor. And there we get the strange pod. You're getting a secret pilot. And again, we have a little streak of luck. Perhaps the Vec were happy that they had destroyed a couple pieces of grid health already. But we do not have any threats to the grid. So we are set up for a final turn, which will be, I believe, a 2v3 still in our favor. And this is a good opportunity for Silica to get some big boy XP. So let's see what we got. We get Mafan with +3 grid defense. I guess it could be worse. Mafan is nice in that he comes with a bonus power core. Obviously, we want to use him on the off chance. I skip ahead a little bit in time. We do some serious re-faffering of my pilot loadout, but we've still got Ralph on the Napalm mech, Mafan in the Dispersal mech, and then we're keeping Silica in the Quickfire mech, and plopping our new power core into some survivability. Mafan, we sunk his bonus core into movement so that the Dispersal mech remains zippy, and now it has a regenerating shield every round, which is nice. Now, this is a really nasty map seed, typically. Very constrained movement, very claustrophobic. I'm not terribly enthused about it. However, we do need power cores. We're pretty desperate for them. And since our objective is to freeze the robots, we've got the ice tank to help us out with that endeavor. And then we've also got the napalm mech with the frost beam. So I figured we had a better than normal chance of succeeding at this mission. The biggest problem will be the map itself, constraining our movements. I deploy my mechs to try and bait at least one of the artillery robots. It'd be nice if both took the bait, but we will see. We are only partially successful in that endeavor. And now we have a really tricky first turn. So 4 threats to the grid: the Scorpion, the Crab, the Blobber Bomb, and one of the robots. That seems to be the one that makes the most sense to just freeze right off the bat. We can ignore the other robot, in theory. I could potentially freeze both of them, but then I don't think I would have anything to defend the robotic slab from the deprivations of the Scorpion, which is not good. Now, I make a very interesting call here that I think I regret, which was I was going to send Quickfire Mech, and the idea was to have it kind of sneak down the eastern side of the board. But this winds up being not the best call. And there's nothing I could really do about the Crab. So we're going to lose 2 grid health. Love it. Part of my other tactical error here is that the artillery robot is now on the western side of the board, and both of my freezers, the tank and the napalm mech, are far away. Now, I'm going to fast forward to show you this weird attempt I had. I was like, okay, we're going to give the ice tank a boosted assist to freeze the Crab, and then do some other weird stuff. But then I realized that all of my mechs were out of position. Both of my units capable of freezing were way out of position. and this was going to leave me in a really miserable state to finish the mission off. So instead, I'm like, okay, we can do a better job here. We need to use our temporal reset. There we go. So how can I do a better job? Well, I realized that the enemy artillery robot was going to be targeting the blobber and the scorpion. So why not double down? Indeed, I can use the napalm mech to just break them free of the ice, and then the enemy will destroy the Vec for us. This is a much more effective solution. This also leaves the quickfire mech slightly more on the enemy side of the board, hopefully able to react to developments. The only negative is that it doesn't really give Mafan anything to do, but that's okay. And rather than waste the ice mech's turn, we can just apply some ice to the grid tiles for defense. But I was very happy that I decided to reset that turn. That could have been a really bad future for me. So here we are on our second to last turn for the mission. And we need to get that robot frozen by hook or by crook. We can use our second ice beam, or frost beam, rather. And then the ice tank can freeze the gastropod. And that will leave us, I believe, with everything... Oh, we'll just do that instead. Duh. Triple the freeze. Freeze all of the things. Our final turn will be a functional 1v4 our favor. So that was a little bit rough, but hey, it's a mission success, and we're going to get a bonus power core out of it. We are just looking a little bit nervously at only 3 grid health remaining. And we can get Silica a little bit of that dank XP. Everyone's happy. We will be moving on to the final mission before the boss fight for the island. And it would be nice to replenish some of that grid health that we've lost. We've got 3 options available. Investing further into quickfire. I was hoping maybe eventually getting Silica's double shot upgrade active. Didn't really pan out. So we have a destroy 2 egg sacs mission and a kill 6 or fewer enemies mission, and finally defend the robots mission. Now, I wind up going for the slightly easier option here. There will be no Vex spawning. They'll all just be emerging out of the ice, and we have to kill the egg sacs. Now, I've tested this out before, and on these missions, when you freeze things, they will still break free when they spawn. So with this in mind, we're going to power down the frost beam, and instead fully upgrade the napalm mech's starting weapon, the firestorm generator. We'll see how that shakes out for us. We can see everything we have to deal with right off the bat, including the first legitimate arachnid scion we're going to have to contend with. That's one advantage to delaying taking on the arachnid scion until later, is it seems to be less likely to run into scions. The other various special Vec take up spawn priority. So we can just accomplish the mission right off the bat, burn all the eggs down. And we also get our second time pod. Importantly, if we had failed at retrieving the strange pod, we would not have gotten a second time pod for the island. It counts as one of your allocated time pods. So if you never retrieve it, at the very least, it doesn't count as a failed mission objective. But it is still somewhat of a bummer in that you'll be behind on your upgrade tempo, as it were. So this turn we have 3 threats to the grid, and the Scorpion is constraining the Quickfire mech. But the Dispersal mech gets a really nice 3 for 1. However, we need to start doing something about damage control here. Otherwise, this board is going to get really flooded with nonsense very soon. But I am enjoying the indiscriminate napalm action happening. It's good versus blobber bombs, other low HP enemies such as the robots. Now, I free the Scion out of the ice here. But then I think I decide to redo the turn, because the artillery robot was going to blow up a bunch of the enemy for us, and they would be replaced by spiderlings. But that's okay. I would rather deal with the, low HP, low movement spiderlings than scorpions and crabs. And with the amount of fire we're throwing around, the spiderlings will have severely limited options. So on this particular instance, it seems like the best bet is to just sit here and do nothing. So now it's our penultimate turn. We've got the Blobber still to contend with, a Hornet, and a pair of Spiderlings alongside the artillery robot. And we're in an interesting position where we're not that worried about Spiderlings, honestly. We'd rather just mop up all the other problems we have. And we can use all of this fire we've been generating to our advantage. And once you fully upgrade the Firestorm generator, few things in the game can really create the sheer amount of burning tiles, as you can see. It might be worth experimenting with this squad, and instead of it maybe going for damage upgrades and other such things, maybe just focusing on upgrading the Firestorm generator and trying to constrain the Vec just through burning the map down. Definitely makes for some interesting thought experiments, if nothing else. And that is a clean board wipe. I think that deactivating the Frost Beam was the right call. I just have to remember to turn it back on. And then we get the Targeted Strike, which I'm happy to see. It's a basically free equip. We've got a spare slot. It's just a question of who is the best candidate for it. I put it on Dispersal Mech. Sometimes the Dispersal Mech just is in such a strange or awkward position It needs a more precise omnidirectional push, so it seemed like a good candidate for that. And then we've got one more power core, and I think my inclination is to put it into the quickfire mech and upgrade Silica with double shot. But then when I look at the map for my boss fight battle, I think I reconsider. So I can see that if I want to place quickfire mech in the middle of the map, having Silica sit there and fire is probably a bad idea. He'll be, probably hitting the grid. So we just go for damage. Can't be bad. I don't think that Silica is a great pick for this squad. He might be better off in the napalm mech, if he could just sit still and just douse fire all over the place. But the heat sinkers seem to really rely on their own maneuvering a great deal. And indeed, it's one of the strengths they have, is their above average maneuverability, even though they're all ground-based. And that's just kind of a bad fit for Silica. Silica wants to be sitting somewhere and doing the same thing over and over. He's a better fit for, say, the lightning mech or the bombling mech. So we have the gastropod leader to contend with. However, we don't have to worry about him on the first turn. Instead, we have to deal with all of his backup dancers. And Silica is in kind of an awkward position here. Fortunately, we can body block with Mothin, and then do a functional 2-for-1 with him. Body blocking and getting the crab out of the way, then we can freeze everything else, and next turn will be a 4v3. Thanks to the gastropod leader's weird fire-producing aura, he is melting a lot of the ice tiles for us, which is kind of nice. And he continues to just want to kill the quickfire mech. That's fine. We have to take care of the non-boss gastropod. And then we either destroy the blobber bomb or move the crab. Ideally, take care of both. So this is a fun little solution here. The dispersal mech can block the alpha crab's attack, and then due to friendly fire, the boss will no longer be of concern to us. And then we can also push Mothin to be a little bit closer to the action. Yes, but the heatsinkers are also interesting in that the two fire-producing boss mech, that is the gastropod leader and the beetle leader, in many ways are only beneficial. They create lots of tiles that are on fire, and the heatsinkers can just use that as a source of damage. I was trying to give the quickfire mech a better angle, but it didn't really work out. I could have used the targeted strike to sink that gastropod. That maybe would have been the better play. And then one of my other mechs could have done something else, but it still works out. We can kill the blobber. The gastropod leader is doomed, so our final turn will be a 2v3 in our favor. And it's just a pair of goofy gastropods. And hopefully this will be the final level for Silica. Indeed it is. He gets skilled, which I was actually pretty happy to see. Yes, we're not getting optimal use out of Silica's passive. Yes, +3 grid defense isn't ideal, but skilled is skilled. That's just a really solid pilot ability to have. We do not look down at +1 movement and +2 HP. And we have a perfect island, so we're going to be getting a potential other replacement. Isaac Jones with Technician. That seems pretty handy to me. Looks like we're going to bench old Ralph. He has served us well. And then once again, we have a kind of mediocre shop available to us. And with 7 rep, we can sell our 2 unused pilots, and that equals 3 power cores, which seems to be the play. We'll just have to be a little bit careful, as Moffin can be kind of fragile. But the fact that we are immune to fire means we've got a little bit more flexibility when it comes to Moffin. And then we have lots of potential upgrades available. The thermal discharger, you can upgrade it further. It's just such a strange weapon. I often find that the dispersal mech is the odd man out when it comes to power core investment. Unless you're having a run that is just really flush. I usually am investing more in napalm mech and quickfire mech. So we've got fully upgraded Firestorm generator and some more survivability on the napalm mech, and we're in decent shape for the 4th island. So join us for the next episode soon. Peace out.